The Kokoda Track is an important place to a lot of Australians. Every year, hundreds of people come here to tackle the grueling 96-kilometre trail. For some, it's about a challenge, but for others, it's about remembering those who fought here to protect Australia during World War II. It was 1941. The war had been raging for 2 years, and it was getting closer to Australia. Japanese forces had invaded a number of countries in Southeast Asia, and many people worried Australia would be next. But first, the Japanese army would have to get to what we now know as Papua New Guinea, which was actually a territory of Australia at the time. It's thought that Japan was intending to take control of New Guinea before invading Australia. But a lot of Australian soldiers were far from home fighting the war in Europe. So the Australian government decided to send reserve forces to New Guinea. Around 5,000 men were shipped off to Port Moresby in December 1941. They weren't professional soldiers. Their job was supposed to be to protect Australia on the home front. They weren't trained very well, they didn't have modern equipment, and many were very young. It was on the Kokoda Track that the Aussie soldiers held off the Japanese army. But the Kokoda Track is tough. It's narrow, steep, muddy, and takes 8 days to finish. The days were hot and the nights freezing. The Australians used whatever they could find to help them up the track. By the time they even encountered the Japanese, they would be wet, tired, and covered in mud. Between July and November in 1942, there were a series of battles on the Kokoda Track. More than 600 Australians died in the fighting, and thousands more were injured. The tropical conditions meant diseases like malaria spread amongst the soldiers, and around 4,000 died of sickness. Getting supplies over the difficult terrain was also a problem for both sides. The Aussie troops had help from Papuan people, who scouted locations and carried supplies and wounded soldiers. In August, trained soldiers were sent to Port Moresby to back up Australian troops. And soon afterward, Japan started to withdraw. In November, Australia recaptured Kokoda. In the years since, the Kokoda campaign has been seen as a defining moment in Australia's history. It was just a small part of Australia's involvement in the Second World War, which would go on for another 3 years. But it remains an important symbol of Australians fighting to protect their home country.